There you go. Okay, finally. So we are 56 years old as of May 6th this year. And our membership is around 80 members. We have associate members and full members. So associate members are those who want to be in the club, associated with a club, but we're not asking them to do much, but they end up doing it anyway. Full members can vote and hold office and all that stuff. We have monthly meetings at Brownell Library in Essex Junction, but right now we're doing it with Zoom, and it's so far working quite well. And we do a lot of outreach when we can. We get schools, libraries, public viewing, different places, and when special events come up, like when the eclipse came up, or lunar eclipse, anything like that, we try to get involved with it. There we go. Now, one thing that's going on now lately is astrophotography, and it's really taken off. So, and we have many astrophotographers in the club. I do a little bit, and I want to show people what they can do with their telescopes. That doesn't take a lot of investment. Many folks, they'll take several photographs, merge them together, then they do a lot of image processing to really bring out the details. And it's the stuff that we couldn't see unless you buy a book like 20, 30 years ago. Amateurs weren't really doing much of that, or it's hard to do. And now it's pretty darn easy. So here's a small telescope. It's a 4-inch diameter lens on it. So it's pretty short, and the mount is you need a tracking mount to take photographs, and that's what that is. So once I align that mount with the Earth's axis, that little motor, that little black motor there, will turn the scope and track the stars or whatever you're looking at to counteract the Earth's turning. And a toy I got, which really works out well for folks, is this phone holder. So here's the eyepiece, and this clamps down on the end of the eyepiece and just grabs here on the other side to hold your phone, and you can take pictures like this with your phone, and that's
wow,
remarkable. And you can also zoom in and take pictures, and it's a lot of fun and easy. At star parties, I'll take it out, hook it up, and I'll say, okay, who's got a phone? Line up and take a picture.
So what is that picture of?
That's the moon.
Okay, thought so.
Yeah. And then if you take your camera like that, that's my DSLR, pretty cheap on eBay. It's hooked up to the back of my 6-inch refractor, which I moved from my house, so I don't have this setup anymore. But there's an adapter for the phone, and with that and the release button, I can take pictures of, like, that's a double star. It's called Alberio. It's the head of Cygnus the Swan, and it actually, you can see 2 different colors. There's a red star and a blue star. And quite often in photographs, you can see, whoops, get back there. You can see stars with colors of all, I did it again, of all different kind of colors. Most of them are white, but some will be yellow, some will be red. And there are some stars, I came across one star once in my scope by accident called the Ruby Star. It was really deep red, it was beautiful, but I didn't photograph it. This is the Great Orion Nebula. So it's a big bunch of gas in the sword of the constellation of Orion. So you have the 3 belt stars, and below that, at the diagonal, there's 3 stars for his sword, and the middle one, to most people, looks a little fuzzy because it is. So all this gas collects, and these stars here are brand new stars. They're only a few million years old, and they're born, and that's how our star was born too, in a big bunch of gas in our whole solar system. And I took this with my camera on that telescope, 30 seconds. And this is like 1,200 light years away. And that's quite a bit. Let's see, brother's got. This is a cluster, a globular cluster of stars. And these globular clusters are older than the rest of the galaxy. Usually we see the galaxy, you imagine a pinwheel of stars in a galaxy, and these surround our galaxy, and they're actually older than the rest of the galaxy, which is a mystery. So this is called M13. It's in the constellation of Hercules. And you can see some color differences, but there's like 500,000 stars in this cluster. They're not very well focused, but that's the best I could do with my setup. Now this was taken with my DSLR camera. Again, 30 seconds. I was amazed I was able to do that. So some folks will take pictures. They'll take 200 pictures at 30 seconds or a minute. Then they'll stack them together, and that brings out a lot more detail, and then they'll process it, and you get some amazing stuff. This is the Andromeda galaxy. You can see this naked eye. It looks like a fuzzy spot in a constellation of Andromeda to the left of Pegasus, the flying horse. This galaxy is 2.2-ish million light years away. So that means the light you're looking at is 2.2 million years old. And that's incredible. So you can see the center of the galaxy, and then so you can see some dark dust lanes in between. So that's places where the dust and gas are not illuminated by the nearby stars. And this is a little satellite galaxy, and so is this one, orbiting around this galaxy. Now, if you live long enough, in about 5 or 6 billion years, our galaxy and this galaxy are going to collide. And when they collide, they just kind of do one of these things where they'll go through each other and they'll swirl around and then they'll reconform. Hardly, if any, stars will hit because there's so much space in between the stars, even with all this density. So space is a big place, and it's incredible. This is called the Triangulum galaxy, and this is also about 2 million light years away. It's fainter, it's flatter, but you can see the spiral structure of it, which they believe is caused also by dark matter holding the galaxy together, so it doesn't just whip around in the middle and go slow on the outside. Most of it moves mostly together, and it takes a long time for it to create that spiral. But again, 30 seconds with my camera on my telescope. I was just with that little telescope. That was incredible. These are some of my favorite things to look at. There was a guy in I think the 1700s. His name was Charles Messier, Frenchman, and he was looking for comets. And anytime he came across fuzzy things, he would label them. Once he knew they were always there, he would label them so he wouldn't just spend time looking at this non-comet. So they became known as Messier objects, or M's. So this is I think this is M81 and M82. So these are two galaxies. This is a spiral, and this is what they call an irregular. It's kind of like a mesh of stars. And both of these are about 12 million light years away. Excuse me, 1,200 million light years away. It's crazy. The distance and the immensity of space is just incredible. And the stuff we can see is amazing. And way over on the right is another distant galaxy way out there. Okay, let's do another one here. This is what I use to look at the sun. So this telescope is a regular telescope, and I put a filter on the front and a special eyepiece in the back, or a regular eyepiece, and you can look at the sun through the filter. That cuts out about 10,000 times. It cuts the light down by 10,000 times, makes it safe. Or I can leave this open, and this I should have left this a bigger picture. I have a funnel projector, so we can let the light go through, shine on some material on the back on the funnel, and many people can look at it all at once, and that's pretty cool. This telescope It can only look at the sun. That's all it's good for. So it's got special filters in it, and it looks at the line in the spectrum of hydrogen, the hydrogen alpha line. So when you look at the sun with that, you can see things like this huge prominence coming out of the sun. The sun right now is pretty dormant. There's not much going on. So when these things pop up, it's good to find them. I mean, it takes about 109 Earths diameter to go across the sun. So this is definitely larger than the Earth for sure, a couple of them at least. Our club, one of our members was talking to another member of the New Hampshire Astronomy Club, and they started up a program where they took telescopes like these, small amateur use telescopes, modified them to make them easy to use, and placed them in libraries so they could be loaned out like a book. And so far we have placed, I think, 12 telescopes in libraries. And everyone I talk to, they say it's used quite a bit, of course, when we have clear skies, but it has where's my thing? A red dot finder, with my pointer up here, to help locate things, a variable power eyepiece, and this scope sets on a table, and you can just take it and move it, and it's easy to use, and you really can't hurt it much at all. But they get used quite a bit, and it actually has a hole here for a handle. You can just carry it right out anywhere you go. That's been a great project. So this is Keith Lawrence, a member of our club from way back when. So he's talking to somebody in Bristol, placing the scope in the Bristol Library. This is the Georgia Library, and the Heinsberg Library. We have more, but I didn't always show up to take pictures. we do outreach as much as we can. So this is at the 2018 Astronomy Day. We had a permit to go down on Church Street in Burlington. So this is my solar telescope, and Joe had another one later on he brought. And we had a good time. So it's just right across from Ben and Jerry. So we had a lot of traffic. I brought these little filters. These are just square cardboards with, what am I thinking of? Welder's glass, shade 14. I put them in and taped them in so they're safe. And with that, you can look at the sun without any trouble. If there's any large sunspots, you can see them with this simple little piece right there. And then we went back at night. And this is one of my favorite scopes I bought for like $2 I bought from somebody. It's a Sears refractor made back in the 60s, and it works wonderful. And I put it on my mount so it tracks really good, and people just love the views. And you look at Jupiter, you can see the cloud bands, you can see the moons of Jupiter. You look at Saturn, you can see the rings and moons around Saturn. You can look at the clusters and see those, the open clusters, the globular clusters, the nebula. It's only 3 inches across, so it doesn't catch a lot of light, but you can still see galaxies with it. And it's just a lot of fun. Yep, there's another view. So here's another scope that Joe brought. And we had a line. People love this. One time I brought down a scope on Church Street, and I hooked on my telescope. I put in a little video camera and the eyepiece, and put that to a black and white monitor sitting on my ladder in the street, looking at the moon. And the people going by loved it so much they started taking pictures of the monitor, and it was really, really cool. There are a lot of links to get information. Spaceweather.com is very active. They'll tell you what's going on the sun and anything else that's of any importance. Heavensabove.com. You get in there and you can log in and set your location, or just without logging, you can set your location for where we are. It will tell you when the ISS is going over. And the other things that are cool are the iridium flares, which are satellites with large panels, solar panels, and sometimes they'll line up with the sun and they'll glow really, really bright. They'll reflect the sunlight, and it'll tell you right to the minute, right to the second when they'll start and when they'll stop, and where to look. So you can impress your friends on a clear night with that. Sky and Telescope has information on what to look during the day and during the week, and also astronomy.com does, and nasa.gov has a lot of great stuff. Like I watched live the launch on Saturday of the two astronauts going up to the space station, and it's really cool. Now, when it's clear out, someone out, not in Vermont, but someone actually saw the capsule catching up to the space station. I missed seeing that with the space shuttle, but it was visible too. So our website, is vetastro.org, and we also have a page of astro links of imaging or how to use your scope and or different sites, all kinds of things. We're on Facebook and we're on Twitter for those who do that. I don't do either one, but we have folks who take care of those sites. And there's so much information to share. It's hard to pick something just to share in a short time. But if you have, or anyone has trouble with their telescopes, we can help. We can help with go-to telescopes. Those are scopes, you take it out and you align it with a couple of stars, and then the computer has a database of the whole sky and knows like 20,000 objects, and you put in what you want to look at, it'll go right to it. And then you start observing, and it keeps that object in the eyepiece. That's the thing is, you can buy fairly affordable telescopes, and they're on what they call Dobsonian mounts, which is an altazimuth, so it goes up and down and around, but it won't track. You have to do it yourself. So the go-to telescopes are on equatorial mounts, which you have to align, and once you do that, things in the eyepiece will stay there. That's why we can take such great pictures. Anyone has trouble with that, we're glad to help. We can help with photography. We can help with beginnings. Just if you don't know where to look or what you're looking at, we can help with that too. And we have meetings do I have the slide for that? No. We have meetings every month at I already said that, the Browner Library. So it's open and free to the public, no charge or anything. Come and go as you wish. This last meeting we did by Zoom, and one of our members talked about basic imaging. It was pretty good. It's an involved thing to do imaging and take pictures of the galaxies and things, but it's quite fun and rewarding to do something like that. If you take your scope, your camera, and you put it on a tripod, and you use the we used to call it the bulb setting, but if you can just keep the eyepiece open like 20 to 30 seconds, point your camera at a constellation, and you can take a picture of the constellation just like that. It's pretty cool. And when you look, and the best thing is you look at it right off. You don't have to wait to have your film developed, which was always a pain. And in those pictures, you can see colors of stars, which speaks to their size and their temperature, mostly their temperature. The reddish stars are usually red giants, and they're fairly cool stars. They're only 4,000 or 5,000 degrees at their surface, but they're really, really big. That's why we can see them. And some stars that are really white or bluish in color can be as much as 30,000 degrees at their surface, but they can be really small, but they're really, really bright. So, and you can see a lot of double stars if you look in your telescope. Most of the stars in the sky turn out to be binary pairs. And now they figured that most stars have planets around them. So they've discovered more planets in the last couple of years than we could ever imagine to have done. So astronomy is a hobby you can take as deep and as expensive as you want to, or as easy and cheap as you want to. most every month, like except this month, there's a meteor shower, which is not really not often a shower. It's just Earth passes through a trail of particles that a comet left. So as the comet goes around the sun, and the sun pressure of the sunlight acts on the comet, and it makes a tail, and the gas and dust come out, those particles will stay in orbit just as the comet does. So as the Earth passes through those tails, that's when we get a meteor shower. I think the best one, most popularly known, is the Perseids in the summer. It's in August. And sometimes you can get like up to 100 per hour if you have a good dark sky and the conditions are right. Some of the showers only are said maybe 10 per hour, so it's not really a shower, but you can go out most any night and see meteors. You can go out any night and see satellites. There's so many satellites up there that quite often, looking through the eyepiece at anything during the night, you'll catch it, a satellite passing through the field of your eyepiece, which is a really, really small part of the sky when you're magnifying with an eyepiece. It's so tiny, but you'll see a satellite go through there. So there's a lot of stuff up there. It's amazing. But I know it wasn't a lot, but astronomy is a great hobby, and it's just, I think everybody should have a hobby like this. You can use binoculars in the summer coming up, when the Milky Way is overhead. Kick back on a blanket or a launch chair and take your binoculars and just look up through the Milky Way, and you'll be amazed at the stars you'll see. It's just incredible. And that's just our galaxy. We probably have, I don't know, 200 or 300 billion stars in our galaxy, but there are billions of galaxies. So there's, it's incredible what's beyond Earth. It's just amazing. At this point, I guess I'll ask for questions, because I don't have much else for slides.
Yes, fascinating, Jack. Thank you so much for doing this with us. Does anybody have any questions?
Mark, I have two.
Okay.
One is, do you know what the app is for your phone that you can use, you can download and then point it at the sky and it'll tell you what constellation you're looking at? And number two is, do you ever work with a group, the Dark Sky Society? Do you know anything about them?
We support the Dark Sky Society every year. So we're kind of like a membership. The club is. As far as the app, I don't have any idea what the name is, but I bought one for like $2.99.
Okay.
And when it comes up, I got it right here on my phone. I want to show you something here. It's just incredible.
So have you, back to the Dark Sky Society while you're looking, have you done any work to get legislation passed in communities in Vermont to adopt their state?
We did some quite a while ago. There's some bill going to be passed, and a lot of our members either wrote letters or called Montpelier to support keeping the sky dark. So I don't remember what the bill was, but I think it was about light ordinances and trying to keep light, for light down instead of going up. So we tried supporting that, and all of a sudden that just kind of disappeared.
Oh.
But this is my phone app, and there's more stuff on here than you can really use. It's amazing. You can enable constellation names or little figures, or you can look up. It'll tell you what anything is that you're looking at. Let's see.
Do you have a name on that app?
Bridget,
What?
I use one called Skyview. It's free.
Okay, thank
You can
you.
I pointed up there in Belmont. It'll tell you everything you look at.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of this. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
And when I call it up, it doesn't show me either.
Okay.
I got to figure that out. But there are a lot of them out there.
I think dark skies are becoming a real issue and it's an opportunity for tourism in Vermont.
Yeah.
Just because we're losing it in a lot of places.
Oh, yeah. But there are a lot of places that are using better lighting, mostly because it's cheap. But when they do that, they're using LEDs, and their light is it's directed down. It's not they prevent the light from going any further than horizontal, so they're not shining up.
That's
And
important.
I see a bunch of that in Burlington. I used to live in Burlington, and a lot of shopping centers and different places are using that. And some of the streets have been changed. Here in Williston, there's a lot of that going on. And so I think it's changing, if nothing else, it's because of the economy, because it's cheaper, but it's also helping the sky. It's what's really worrying is all the satellites they're putting up in space. And I forgot who wants to do it, but he wants to put up thousands of satellites for whatever crazy reason. But so when you take pictures of galaxies or star fields, you know, all of a sudden you're going to have this satellite flying through your picture, which who wants that? But
Thank you.
yeah, okay,
I have a question.
yeah.
So as director of the library in town, how would we get on a list to possibly be able to obtain a telescope?
Okay. In Burlington?
Ludlow.
Ludlow. Oh, just send an email to info@vtastro.org. I think the links on our website should be. We have a contact.
Okay.
Yep. Now what we
Thank
do
you.
is we'll order the scope, we'll modify it and change the eyepiece out, and then just sell it to you for whatever it cost us. And that price is around $360, I think, right now. And if you have trouble making that, then maybe we can help out.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you mentioned ISS, and I was just curious, with the equipment you showed us today, would it have been, or is it possible to photograph the spaceship and, or I mean the space station and, or the SpaceX rocket?
Well, the space station for sure, folks have done it. You can get if you need a go-to telescope, so it'll track by itself, but you can download coordinates for things like, I haven't done it, but folks have done it, and they can image it, and you can actually see the structure of the space station, and that's quite amazing.
It's moving pretty fast, I guess.
Yeah, and the scope will just, it's moving, it's following it. So in the eyepiece, you'll have your satellite or the space station with all these stars buzzing by really quick. It's quite weird,
Cool.
but you can do that, yes.
I have a question too.
Yeah,
With the space flight going up Saturday, our little grandson was with me at the time, so we were watching it. And they gave a website to add a space tracker or satellite tracker on your phone. So I did that, and it's kind of neat. It says the ISS will pass over Ludlow in 1 hour, 52 minutes, and 15 seconds.
cool.
So I don't think I can see it in the daylight, but next time it goes around at night, I'm going to try to take a look.
Oh, yeah, and it can get very bright too. It's amazing. And it's incredible. You look up that light going by, and like there's people up there.
And I got to tell you that most of the club knows my grandson Connor, but he's sitting on my lap and he says, Grammy, they call that dragon. I can't wait to see the dragon come through that, the connection into the space center or space satellite. Oh my gosh.
Oh man, it's so cool when little kids. I've been amazed by, sometimes we'll have a star party and we'll go somewhere, and some of the little guys, boys, girls, both have such a great knowledge of the sky. I had one little guy once tell me, he was correcting me on my knowledge of a certain constellation. I said, no, that's not the way it is. It's like this. Oh, I guess you're right. But it's really amazing that they'll absorb it and they'll get right into it. And a small telescope to get them started will do wonders.
Anybody else? Otherwise, we'll let Jack go, and with great appreciation for your expertise and fascinating presentation. Really amazing.
Thank you.
Gallery clap.